Okay, so we're in Bournemouth with the BIC and we're here for Anastacia, and this is the next episode of Backstage with, and today we're meeting up with Steve Barney, who's told me to meet him somewhere here in this car park. Let me just give him a call. Yeah, Steve, where are you? Ah, hang on, it's this one, let's go and find him. What, you're in the back? You're kidding me. Hang on, I'm coming. It's got to be this one.
Steve, mate. I can't believe you. How are you, man?
I'm
great
good.
to see you. Great to see you, man.
This is your own tour bus.
This is us. Do you want to have a little look?
Yeah, come on, let's go and have a look.
It's ideal.
Hang on a minute. Did you make your bed?
I have. I've made my bed especially. Yeah. This is the world of the Steve Barney on tour. There it is.
Wow.
Clean linen, clean sheets. It's all there, mate. I knew you were coming.
Wow.
I've just had a call from the stage saying we can walk up to the stage now, so it's ideal.
So this is all your bus?
Absolutely, man.
Let's go.
Me, the band and crew, mate, we're all on here. Like a big happy family.
Okay, let's go. Let's get to the stage then. So 17 years ago was the first time I brought my daughter to a concert, and it was Gareth Gates.
Wembley.
With you on drums.
Wembley, God, that's
first
flown.
ever concert.
Amazing.
17 years later.
How is she?
And we've still got the same hairstyle.
We have, mate. I'm in with the same jeans.
In fact, I was going to mention that. So how's touring?
Touring's going great. We're on day 13 of a 14-day UK tour. And we've got a little break before we go back out for 7 weeks in the summer.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's all good. This way, you know.
This is where it's going to go.
Hello, Cleveland, come on.
Hello, Cleveland.
The Hello Cleveland thing's very real.
This is what I love, look. He has no idea where he is.
So it's very important back home, you follow the signs.
Ah.
And my problem is when I get off tour at home, I need arrows, so it takes me about a week to get back to normal life, but that's none of your... So we can go this way. There we go. Follow me.
Okay, so I'm here with Backstage with Steve Barney before he goes out and plays with Anastacia in, I think it's date number 13?
13.
13 out of the 14 UK dates of this leg of the tour. So, Steve, we go back a long way, and you're no stranger to arena and stadium tours. How have they changed over the last 17, 18 years that you've been doing them? The actual tour, the setup, yeah.
I think ultimately the tour and the actual stage part of things are pretty much the same, but with budgets being kind of, you know, shortened and record companies and management having sort of like, you know, watching budgets, rehearsal period has basically been shorter. So I think you basically have to go in super prepared, you know, right from the off, you know what I mean, from the top of the rehearsals. But as far as the show's concerned, everything is as was, you know, super professional.
So do you change your attitude, for example, when you did Live 8 with Annie Lennox at Stadium, Wembley Stadium, do you approach the gig any differently to stadiums, to arenas, to theatres?
I really don't. I always just try and lay it down hard and heavy and be very, very sort of solid, you know, for the artists that you're working with. I wouldn't say that any size of any venue is sort of any more grandiose in the playing. No, I mean, obviously I'm aware of the size of the place that you're playing at, you know, and I'm aware of the artist. And everyone you play with, there is a certain difference to how you play, you know, and how you approach the gig. But I've been with Anastacia now since 2009, so I feel pretty comfortable behind her and doing the show. And it takes a lot of energy to do the show. There's some, as you'll see tonight, it's pretty dynamic. You know, there's a lot of styles, rock, pop, funk, big ballads, you know. Little drum moment here and there.
Ooh, exciting.
But no, so I'm really super comfortable on this particular gig. You know, I've been there, like I say, a few years, and it's a great band, great people. She's great. You know, it's great stuff to play.
Kit since last time.
Brand new kit, mate. Same fills though.
Oh, well, I wouldn't expect anything different.
Well, no, you know me, mate.
I wouldn't expect.
I kind of, you know, I do what I do. But I mean, I thought maybe we could go through the kit with a drum tech, Nick Gosling.
Yeah. Where is he?
Nick, ladies and gentlemen, Nick Gosling.
Ta-da!
Here is Steve Barney's drum kit for the Anastacia Ultimate Collection Tour. So let's go left to right. Let's talk about the drums first. So here we got so all the drums is Natal Original Series, custom finish, black with the red sparkle across the middle. So we got 10 by 5.5 popcorn snare. We've got a 14 by 8 main snare. Toms, 2 rack toms, 10 by 6.5, 12 by 7. We've got a 14 by 14 and a 16 by 14 floor toms with 22 by 16 kick. When I came on board last year, I spoke to Steve. I'd actually met Steve at that point. He explained he was with Natal. I had no experience of the brand, so I came into it kind of not knowing anything about them. And straight away, these are incredible drums. Really, really nice attack, really nice sounding drums. Occasionally I go out and listen in sound check. Really, really nice tone. Natal have been great, in terms of the spares, in terms of the support that we need. Steve's only been with them just over a year. And so hopefully we're going to start talking to him about next year and developing a couple of things. They've done a custom colour for Steve on this one because, red and black, matching the colour scheme for the Ultimate Collection Greatest Hits album. Really nice sound, good hardware. I've probably been on stage, I've done about 70 shows in the last year. I've been on stage because something's failed once. This cymbal kind of moved, and it's probably my fault for not tightening it up fully. So it's really reliable, really nice gear, and a good company, good support.
Do you have a routine, pre-match routine, or not really?
Every day is kind of like you come in and you kind of, you basically got most of the day free,
How do you cope with that?
Social media,
Okay.
talking to my family, keeping an eye on business and what sort of, what's going to happen next in your life, in your career. I mean, at the moment I'm preparing learning tracks. I just quite recently got asked to go into the studio with Anastacia. So when we finish tomorrow in Brighton, on Monday I'm flying to Stockholm to record drums for her new record, which I'm really excited about. So I've been working on that actually this last week. I have the demos of her new record, and so I'm really looking forward to do that on Monday for a few days.
I mean, everybody that are in music colleges and they see this glamorous life of the touring musician, which it isn't always glamorous.
No.
What advice would you give to those people coming out of students coming out of colleges?
I would say while it is about the drumming, if we're talking about drummers, while it is about the drumming, it's also about people and being a good person and being aware of the people around you in the music that you're playing for. I mean, having great chops is obviously essential, and being, having the sort of technical ability to do stuff. But to be musical, it really says something, and to be a great listener, I think, is really essential. And, save for a rainy day, because, not everyone works consistently. I think if you're lucky enough to have a block of work from a tour, that you do want to blow that money, you want to make sure that lasts you to kind of tide you over till the next thing comes in. Well, that's the way I've approached it anyway.
Well, let's talk about that as well, because as you just said, nobody works unless
Some
you're
people
on a retainer with Paul McCartney or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a period of time when you were out as well.
I did.
I mean, how did you cope with that as a professional musician?
I don't know, as a professional musician how I cope with it, but as a person, it was a tough time. I mean, Anastacia sadly got cancer a few years ago, which returned to her for the second time. So completely understandably, she cancelled everything work-wise to get well. So we all completely understood that. But I found myself in a period of time where I thought I was going to be working, where I wasn't. And it was really hard to get something and jump straight back on to something else. It just so happens in that period that my own father got leukemia. And so I look back on it I actually look back upon that period now that I'm glad I was around for my dad, because if I'd have been on a world tour with Anastacia, I would have been tied. I've been tied to that because I would have had to do it. My dad's completely in remission, and thank God everything's great. But looking back on it, I don't know how I cope with it. I focused on my health a little bit more at the time, which, like anyone that loves food is a battle sometimes, but I really focused on my health at that point, which I think kept my mind in a better place than it could have been if I was, say, arguably drinking. But it was a challenging time, but I got through it. It was like an 18-month period where I was kind of quieter with work and a kind of reflective time looking back on it. But then Anastacia thankfully made a full recovery, and she made a new record, and she kindly called me back to play drums for her. And I've been out with her since 2000. I got the call in 2014. Okay. And while we don't work consistently, I've done 2 really big tours with her in the last 3 years. So
do you think? I mean, a couple of weeks ago it was Mental Health Awareness Week, and a lot of musicians or people in the arts suffer with that. Do you think it is because of that? you're working and you feel loved, etc., etc., then all of a sudden it's almost like a rejection.
Yeah.
Do you think, is there anything that...
I think there's some truth in that,
Yeah.
mate. I mean, not that I need to feel loved on a daily
No,
basis.
no,
We all like
but-
to feel loved or appreciated. I mean, and I personally do feel great if I've achieved something in my life rather than just, having a mundane day to day. You know, that's just the way I've always been driven, and being a lover of music and playing drums, that I've always, I guess that's my adulation sort of bit. But ultimately, I think there is some truth in what you're saying, and it does take, from being on a big tour when you've got, these great events happening every night. It's pretty amazing where people come and celebrate music. It's such a positive thing, and especially in the current climate that we're in, without going too serious into the sort of security of events that are happening around the world, and especially in the UK of late. It makes things feel slightly different. So, I mean, ultimately, it can be quite challenging to go sort of back home and get sort of set into normal life. But equally, I'm super pleased to be home and see my family, who I love dearly. Thank God for FaceTime. I speak to them every day. You talk about routine. I speak to my wife and my son every day. I keep in touch with my parents, who still to this day, God bless them, are super proud of me and never wanted me to get a normal job. Which I can't thank them enough for that. I think one thing which is really, really important that doesn't always happen, while I think school education is very important, and my mum and dad were very sort of supportive of my school education. They saw that I had a spark of something hopefully special, as a drummer, or at least someone that wanted to be a drummer. And they didn't tell me to shut up and be quiet. They told me to be loud and be myself. My dad took me to Genesis concerts and lots of loud music concerts, and that rubbed off on me. So when I left school, I wanted to be a drummer. And I'll tell you, Mike, one thing which is just, I think, amazing, even though the work has not been consistently there, it's been an amazing career or life for me, even though it's been a roller coaster. And no matter what, drumming is always there, or like the gift of being able to play the drums is there for me, whether that involves money, whether it involves no money, whether it involves an arena or in a theatre. It's always there for us, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Us drummers, which is an amazing thing to have in your life,
Okay, so that's for drums. Let's go cymbals. We have the Zildjian A Custom Master Sound 15-inch. We have an 11-inch Oriental Trash Splash. We have an 18-inch Dark K Medium Thin. We have a 20-inch Custom Hybrid Ride. So I need to read these so I forget. We have a 19-inch. This is a new one. I think this one is available now. It's a Custom Hybrid Trash Smash. If you look carefully, if you can see that, there's a kind of inverted bell. We have a 20-inch Crash of Doom, and we have a 20-inch Oriental China Trash. 15-inch hi-hats. Steve's looking for a big sound, but particularly with the A Customs, in playing venues like this and Anastasia's music, you want quite a lot of cut. You want to kind of, same with the sound of the drums, the sound of the snare, the sound of the toms. You don't want a lot of decay. You don't want a big sound, so you want to kind of get in there and get out. Same with the Oriental Trash Splash. It's really quick sounding. We've moved to some Ks recently, and so particularly on this kind of this side of the kit, there's a crash. This just gets in and gets out really quickly, and on the ride, this bell is mega. It's playing this kind of music, the pop music with lots of backing track. And the sound of the kit we're looking for is quite lots of attack, and same with the cymbals. We don't want a lot of body necessary to the sound. We don't want to kind of it's a kind of hit and then decay pretty quickly. So other things we've got going on: drum heads. Steve is a Remo endorser, so on the snares we've got Ambassadors on top, and we've got Hazies on the bottom. All the toms have got coated Emperors on the top and clear Ambassadors on the bottom. Classic combination. We have a clear power stroke free on the batter head, and I think it's a coated PS3 with a custom design for the tour on the Resonant Head. Okay, on the left of the kit, electronics. So, Roland SPD SX. Nothing particularly complicated on it, just we use a kit chain, so scroll up and down with a set list for Steve. Different patch for each song. Now going into that, by his pedal, we've got a Roland trigger, so we've got some electronic songs, so some electronic kicks. We've also got an acoustic trigger on the main bass drum as well, triggering the same sound so we can swap between on the same song. We're taking monitor feeds left and right into this mixer, and also got a Y split from the playback here for his click. So Steve's got control here of his own monitors. We use Sennheiser HDs, got a spare pair there as well. So on a long cable, so Steve can basically monitor his own sounds, his own volume of his own mix, along with the click, because obviously it's important. He has the click and he can turn it up or down if he needs be. Also, we've got an input for an iPad as well, so if there's any tracks where there's no playback, because there's a point in the show of Anastacia where she'll put we're not sure what the next song's going to be. People vote for different songs, so there's songs without click on. He kind of plays a metronome from an iPad. More electronics, we've got a BC2 Porter & Davis. Everybody's on ears, there's no wedges up here, so it's a very quiet stage. So it's really important that Steve gets some sub. So yeah, we've got that BC2, really good thing. LP Ridge Rider cowbell, it's a new addition to the set. Veta Universal sticks and stick grip. I think that's about it. It looks like quite a lot of equipment, but Steve, he uses everything in the setup, and it's quite important everything's to hand. Spares, very briefly, I'll just touch on that. We have the same, very similar snare drum, 14x8 Bubinga. This is our spare. The other night, Steve managed to go through the Resonant Head, which is quite special. We had to stop the show for about 20 seconds, but went straight through it. This is tuned exactly the same as the main. And this one, we've been using this a bit recently, just in sound checks, looking ahead to maybe using it next year. This is a 14x8 brass. It is an incredible drum, and we're not using it at the moment, but I suspect we'll see it on the kit hopefully next year, or maybe later in the year if we add an extra snare. And that's about it. Oh, one last item. We bought a couple of these recently. Steve's been using them on the ballads, big Fat Snare Heads, incredible, completely change the sound, so it's a really useful little tool. Stick them on the snare head, and it completely gives it that kind of proper ballad sound, because Anastasia's got some big ballads. So that's it, Steve Barney's rig. This is a good tour to be in, and particularly working with Steve, who's become a good friend, because he's got a genuine passion for the music and for being on tour. I enjoy it. It's hard at times, we're away from home, but I never forget that it could be a lot worse.
On a health issue as well, I know that you made quite a big drastic difference in your health over the last. What made you decide to do that? Was there any particular reason?
I saw a film by a guy called Joe Cross, who made this film called Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead. Who guy was really quite overweight. This Australian guy, and it just hit me at that time when I was off work, And I've often I love food, And
we all love food.
yeah, I know. Yeah. And I'm maybe I could be sort of, I could spend more time in a gym than I do, which is no time. But this film just hit me right between the eyes, and I just thought it was a great thing to encourage more fruit and vegetables into my diet, and this juicing thing seemed a great thing to do, and it was. And I really super focused in on it, and I lost a lot of weight. Yeah. And I've gained a bit of weight since weirdly, since the music kind of came back into it.
I mean, to just come back onto that as well, I think the weight part is a distraction. I think the healthy part is the important part. Yeah. Because some people are heavy people.
They are.
And that's the way it is, and some people aren't. Yeah. So I think that people get caught up in what people look like more than the healthy. I mean, you must be a lot more healthier than you were.
I definitely am. And I think to do a show, you can't be a couch potato up there. Her show needs a certain amount of energy, you know what I mean? There's no let up, and I can't sort of let either my physical or my mental concentration dip, you know what I mean? So I think that period of time I brought forward into where I am today with you here.
So do you find now with that in as part of your, as you've got older, if you like, sorry to tell you that. Is it?
I'm 46 and a half.
Right, okay, so that more of a healthy lifestyle, has that helped you cope with the touring?
I think so.
Stage?
I think so, and I'm not perfect, but I don't think it's about perfection. It's being aware of things and being aware of your health and looking after yourself. And, I try and strike a balance. Some days I'm better than others. Some days I want to have a few drinks after the show and dance around a tour bus, you know what I mean? And I'll do that. But then the next day I'll try and sort it out with a you know, with sort of like healthier meal choices and a good smoothie, and you know.
Do you find that with your fellow musicians over the 17, 20 years that you've been doing this? Have you noticed that difference within the industry?
I have.
Yeah.
For all the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you don't see a lot of that.
No, not
you know.
anymore. Yeah.
You really
I'm
don't.
older than you, so I have seen that.
I mean,
yeah.
the stereotypical picture of what touring was, that is not there. I mean, like, people definitely are a lot more healthy. There's not like, well, seriously, there's none of the cliches. I haven't seen them for a long, long time. I have seen them in the past, but not for many years. You can't. Well, I couldn't go up on stage tonight. Right, say if I was that guy that likes some narcotic or alcohol. I do like a drink after a show, but I would never walk onto that stage. I couldn't do it. It's too much dependent on me as a drummer. I mean, everyone on stage is super important, and everyone off stage that's on this tour is important. But I always feel there's a certain amount of thing as a drummer. You're the foundation to the show, really. You know. So I've got to nail it. So yeah.
Okay, I've got two very quick questions, and the first one normally everybody answers the same, but we'll see. Question one. Question one. The thing that you miss the most when you're touring, the hardest thing about touring.
My wife and my son.
Okay, same as everyone. Well, not your wife and your son. They don't all miss your wife. And the second question is the thing that you like the most about touring.
Doing something I love, that I've done since I was a small kid, and somehow, through luck, through determination, through a series of events, sitting here with you now, I'm still doing it. You know, it's quite amazing to me. You know, and I know it's cliched, and people that watching this that are sort of fans of your show that will kind of think that, you know, someone like me, that maybe they might look at my CV and the names attached to it and think, wow, you know, how is he, you know, still feeling like that? But I really genuinely do feel like that. I mean, only a few nights ago I went to see my drumming idol Phil Collins, who's sadly not in the sort of same position I am to be able to play drums anymore, which I find really sad to see that. So I'm super grateful that right now these hands are working and I can play, and I'm just going to do it for as long as I can, you know, and enjoy it, which I do.
Well, thank you very much.
Mate,
and
pleasure.
We'll be here
Thanks for
in
coming out on the
17
road.
years' time.
Yeah.
Maybe not on the Anastacia one, but on another one.
Mate, it's great to see you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks very much.
Nice one.
Thank you.